All right, beautiful day here in Florida. Ben got his XR100 running. It rips. Did some wheelies on it earlier. All right, we got, man, my battery's dying. I gotta go back inside. I tried to bring everything out at once, and then I realized I forgot something. We got wire loom. This is what we've been waiting on. Our wire loom, our box of heat shrink. So this is how we're going to loom up the entire chassis harness, like this guy. The only annoying thing is I got 1/2 inch, which sounded big. And it should be enough, but it's just not very big. It's not as big as I thought it would be. That's what she said, ha ha ha. So yeah, very excited though. Ben got his pit, oh my god. Hold on. It's gonna take time to learn how to wheelie one of these. All right, first loom done. We basically just need to add the connector to this. Well, we need to put heat shrink over so we don't forget. Add the connector to the wires here, and then we can heat shrink it on and we will have a completed loom. But we need to run it first because it probably can't run it with the connector. It's probably too big. So we're gonna send it down the line. All right, well, we have one connector loomed and completed and everything. Look at that. Wire mesh all the way back. Heat shrunk. Connected to the connector, and we just connect it right here. Ciao. I gotta run it up again. I ran it through there and test fitted it, and this was the length I came up with. Hell yeah, that wasn't too bad. The only thing that sucks is this crimper is not quite right for this. It needs to be like, I don't know, a couple mil thinner basically, because what happens is to crimp the connector without crushing the pin itself, which you can't crush this because then it won't connect, and part of it is like these little tabs are what hold it in the connector. So I have to keep that outside of the crimper, but then it brings the weather seal inside the crimper, and there's super crushes the weather seal and like squishes it all over the place, and it's just a mess. That's the only annoying part. Other than that, not that bad. I'm gonna keep on looming it up. What do you do when you have a bunch of extra airbags? Thought you were set up, brother. That was sick.
Right?
That was dope. That was louder than I thought it would be. The thing went straight up. I had two that I've been meaning to blow up for like 2 years, and I threw them away because I was like, I'll never end up blowing them up.
I just like save them, and then we go to the ranch and just
blow up as many as you can. Landed upright. I just noticed that. Alright, so I got this harness done and connected. I got the headlight fan harness done and connected. It's just kind of like loosely ran right now, but it's all done, heat shrinked, all that. I'm working on the ignition / brake input wire. Alright, well, I have everything connected now. I loomed all of the harnesses I had to loom, put the connectors on them. The only one left is this, which is front turn signals and wiper, which I never ran the wire for that, so that's just gonna stay out of the way for now, but everything else is connected. Very happy with the looming. It was very satisfying. But yeah, so now what we're gonna do is power it up. You know, ideally everything's connected, so we should be able to turn the key. That should power up the PMU, and then we'll hook the laptop up and we can start setting, you know, our switches for stuff. So set our headlights and things like that. We'll set the fans to a switch just to make sure they work and all that. So we're just gonna test and make sure we didn't mess anything up or find out what we messed up, which is really the more likely case here. All right, moment of truth. Okay, well, first step already failed. Alright, so I just pinned the connector wrong. I pinned it backwards because I had the thing upside down. But now, everything turns on. You'll probably start this thing. Success. That part works. Ta-da! Oh, would you look at that? Did you just look at it? and tail lights. All right, so far we have our headlights and our fans working. We're getting there. It's pretty easy. Doing it with the keypad's super easy. I just still don't really understand how to do a switched ground. I think I know how to do it with power, so whenever power comes into an input, it sends power out, but I don't know if I can do it with switched ground. So I got to look more into this. The step I was missing was I was doing power outputs, which is here, but I needed the input. So I made the input, which is this button. Basically just whenever the wire grounds, it sends power to the output. Brake lights are on. So this is the hardest thing I was worried about because I wasn't sure how to do it. Now watch. Whoop, whoop. It works. That's so exciting. I'm so stoked. Like that was, yeah. So now we're gonna do turn signals. Okay, this is too cool. So I made my right turn, which is gonna be this switch. I didn't plan on having turn signals. I do now, so I'll order different buttons. But I set it to turn on, but I programmed it for flash, which is in here. So right now it's 1 second on, 1 second off. So turn on. It's like a super slow flash. So now we're gonna speed it up. We'll do 0.3 seconds off and half a second on. Okay, I think it needs to be even. There we go. Half a second seems pretty solid. Look how cool is that? This thing is so rad. Oh man, this thing is so cool. Look at that, man. Oh man, this just feels good. I thought I would really struggle with this whole programming part of things, but it's pretty intuitive. There's a couple of weird things like having to set up the input for the ground. It's considered switch low, and you set, below a certain voltage, turn on. I honestly didn't think it was gonna work, but it worked. But yeah, man, I'm stoked. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the left turn signal, and then I think I'm gonna call it a night. I have like a raging headache. I want to do this like when I'm in the mood and not here just trying to get it done, because I want to be able to tinker with it and get everything kind of dialed. My idea would be to get the tombstone done and like the PMU switch panel in there and dash in and all that stuff. So that's kind of the goal for tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for, or no, not, no, it's going to be like right now. Okay, bye. All right, today is the day. I can feel it. Not a super late start like yesterday. I feel decent today. No crazy headache. I went ahead and put a piece of rubber behind the PMU just to isolate it so it's not vibrating metal on metal. Before we start wrapping everything up, I am going to add a pin to this connector. I'm going to add a 5-pin connector off of one of the high current outputs. That way I can use this connector to wire in all my gauges and stuff, like my oil pressure, coolant temp, wideband, all of those things, because power is going to come from somewhere. Oh, my cigarette lighter. I want to power that so I can charge my phone, just things like that. Ben is doing wiring. He made so much fun of me for taking forever to get started on my car, and then now he knows the exact struggle. He hasn't even started yet.
I'm sorry, Taylor.
Thank you. This is Eric's old car. If you guys remember the 3-day tandem event at Auberdale, it was the three of us that won the team tandem comp. Eric decided to get rid of his car. He sold it to Ben. It had a car fire, burnt the wiring harness up, so what he's doing is he needs to basically just build the important parts of the chassis harness, kind of like the same thing as my car, but with just relays and fuses instead of the PMU setup. He hasn't even started yet. We're listening to the Maximum Driftcast podcast today. I've been making progress. Wiring just takes time. I got my connectors for my 4-gauge wires, so the main wire to the starter, solder those onto those wires. I got my gauge connector made. So this is just a 5-pin, and then this will go to all my gauges. I made it extra long, so I won't have to add any wire to it. I could have loomed the rest of these, but of course not, because I didn't have the loom when I made this. But it bothers me now. I need to make this harness. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. So front and right, turn signal, and then wiper. I think I want to make the chassis side of this harness and run all that stuff. Now that I have rear turn signals, might as well have front. The best way to do it with these connectors is put the wire in the connector, shove a bunch of solder in there, and basically heat up the connector with a torch, and that'll melt the solder, and just basically fill it with solder. And did the wiper harness. Ben actually started, so he's over here making progress. I got the fuel pump wired up. We got the power wire running through factory spot here. And then I've just got it grounded right here where the plate goes, basically. And then these are the fuel level sensor wires, which I'm going to get probably an auger gauge and run those to it, because it'll be able to read like whatever resistance level. I'll just have to figure out what 0 and full is. That way I know my fuel level, so that's important. I want to do that. All right, turn signal harness is done. I even loomed up the pigtail coming off. That'll go to the bumper on both sides. This is like where wiring takes time. I could have just not done this. You're never really going to see it, but I wanted to do it to make it nice, and it took probably an extra 20 minutes. I loomed the harness going up as well. Burp, goes up, down. Wiper one goes in, and they're all connected to their connector. You have everything else. So we're gonna plug the PMU plug back in, plug everything back in, make sure everything works, and go from there. Once everything works, we can, oh, I also mounted the fuse block. I riv nutted it and bolted it in, so can't go anywhere. But once everything works, we can start putting the interior back in. But if I need to take anything apart, shouldn't really have the interior in for that. Ben got it to work. Fire up, buddy.
Just for you, trailer.
Look at that. I've got,
Runs good.
runs great. I've got all my wiring kind of zip tied where I want it. I hate having to zip tie stuff that I purposely made, but I made everything too long because I didn't want it to be too short. So I just kind of zip tied these to the power wire, these up here. So these are like the chassis harness connectors. So I won't need to cut the zip tie unless I take the chassis harness out. And I should still be able to get to them to disconnect and to pull the PMU plug out. But all in all, we're pretty tidy. I mean, that's pretty much it for the wiring. That'll not be hanging down on anyone's feet. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now we're gonna just make sure everything works. I got the battery remounted in its factory location. Got my positive wires hooked up. All right, let's see. Moment of truth. Yeah, and the fuel pump primed. Check it out, son. Let's see if our turn signals work. It should be right. Blinker. Got blink back here. No blink up here. Uh-oh. We did something wrong. All right, that one's blinking. That one's blinking. All right, so for the blinker, the bulb was just out of the socket. I just gave it a like quarter twist and it works. And then it does start up now. The tune is completely wrong because we've got a 1-bar map sensor with a tune for a 3-bar map. So what it's reading, it's probably multiplying by like 2 or so. No intake air temp sensor plugged in, and the wrong pound injectors for the tune that we have. So like everything's wrong. So it starts, but it runs like crap. Yeah, see? Too much fuel. So yeah, I mean, hell, everything works. Well, we took a food break. Now we're gonna take a pit bike break. Just taking all the breaks. Well, we are officially done with the chassis wiring. I figured out how to set the ECU input, which is right here for the fans, so that the ECU can turn the fans on itself. And I figured out how to do that while also having the fan button work. So I can either turn them on with the button or let the ECU turn them on, which is really cool because if I forget to turn them on or whatever, just driving around, street driving, they'll just turn on at a specific temp that the ECU tells it, which will set with HP tuners later. But, I mean, everything is done. I've got everything programmed in the PMU to work, like brake lights out, turn signals, everything. It's super exciting. It feels surreal. Like, it's, and me and Ben were talking about it earlier. I'm like, it's actually done. I keep thinking there's more that I've got to do, and this is just like half of it, but that's it. It's done. Ben was right. It is easy to overthink race car wiring. It's so simple. There's like not much going on here. I do feel like I'm underutilizing the PMU, the ECU Masters PMU. Like, it's such a cool setup, and I wish I could do more with it, which we will eventually. So the next steps, gonna get the carpet in and then get the dash in, and then we can start making a mount for the switch panel and the tombstone and get that all figured out. Yeah, I guess we're gonna start throwing interior in this thing. We're gonna have to cut the carpet around the cage, but that should be pretty easy. I had to cut this section of the carpet out because that's this area where my ECU and everything is. So now we're just gonna try to install it. The best part about living with Ben is when I need parts for a Miata, they're all here. Like, I needed a wiper motor because I tried to take mine apart and I broke it. So I had access to a wiper motor. If you guys need Miata parts, go check out the link below and help me find my razor knife. Hashtag 1 like equals 1 prayer that I find my razor knife so I can cut the carpet around this cage. 1 like the video if you want to see me find my razor knife. Put this part of the door panel on because this separates from the bottom. I'm debating on taking the bottom and cutting it to match this cut, or cutting this out more and putting the handle. I don't know. I like having the handle here, so part of me wants to just cut a door panel for this. I don't know. For now, I'm gonna put these on, roll with it. Alright, so what I'm trying to do now is trim my piece of ABS. I need to trim the top to fit it in here because it won't go all the way up. So yeah, we need to trim the top a decent bit. And that'll allow us to put that all the way up, and then we should be able to use this once we mount it, drill holes through it, and that way we can mount this. Ka-chow, just like that. That is the plan, the tentative plan. Check that out. Ta-da! The switch panel is like a little bit crooked and it's really bothering me, so I might try to fix that because it's driving me nuts. And that's why that gap's bigger, which you won't really be able to see that in the car because there won't be any light coming in from the back, but still, I want to try to fix it. Okay, another thing we have to do, since the dash bar ends up like right here. So we need to cut this top section basically off the glove box so that it can close, because right now it hits the dash bar on the way up, the bar going across for the cage. So I'm gonna cut that. Hopefully we can get this in, get the tombstone in, we'll be done for the evening. All right, well, it's in. We're gonna have to end up trimming that and putting a piece of ABS there. We're gonna put carpet here with like a nice shift boot because the factory center console won't fit. And there's a lot of other things. We need to make like a board here, some sort of support for the carpet to go up here. I need to wire up the gauges up to the engine. Like, I got more stuff to do, but I really wanted to get to this point and I'm stoked. It's very motivating. It looks rad. Everything works. Like, so sick. I can just be like, turn my fans on. So yeah, I was gonna try to get the gauges wired up, but I'm tired, it's late. So that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, thanks for subscribing. Let me know what you think of the interior. I think it's harder to keep interior in a race car, especially with a cage, than it is to just gut it. So I always try to keep it, and I think it looks cool when you do. Let me know what you think. Okay, bye.